Ashlands is finally here. As of April 22nd, the Ashlands update has released into the public test branch, available to all players looking to play the update early. And oh boy, what a transformation it is. In this update, we have a brand new biome with new creatures, dungeons, weapons, armor, and so much more. Stay tuned as we will be covering everything new in this update to prepare you and your best pals for the Ashlands. And speaking of friends, today's video sponsor, DatHost, provides the perfect solution for you and your buddies to conquer the Ashlands together with their simple to use and always online servers. We have been using DatHost for our community server for months now with absolutely no issues. With 26 servers worldwide, they will surely meet your needs and location. Their servers support the creation of new worlds, migration of your existing save files, and the ability to easily swap between them with easy to follow instructions, even for bozos like me. And for the mod users out there, DatHost provided servers come with full mod support with a simple single-click interface. You too can play Ashlands early with DatHost. Simply change your branch to the public test in the settings panel. Thanks to DatHost for sponsoring this video. Check them out in the video description and pinned comment below for 30% off your first month of service. Now, let's dive into the Ashlands. When loading into the game for the first time, you can expect to see the Ashlands logo in the main menu, but also a new world modifier has been added. In the Ashlands, your structures will now burn if caught on fire. However, this will be exclusive to the Ashlands unless you're brave and turn on this setting, making it applicable to all biomes. When jumping into a new world, you will quickly notice a few differences. First, a brand new sacrificial stone has been added at the spawn location, which will host the trophy of the Ashlands Boss once defeated. Second, the item drop from the Mistlands Boss, the Queen, and the Queen drop has been converted to the Majestic Carapace. This will be critical for our progress into the Ashlands, as I will explain shortly. Thirdly, looking at your map, you can see a very obvious visual difference in the formation of the Ashlands. The terrain has changed dramatically, as seen by comparing my Ashlands base before the update to now, completely submerged in the ocean. And of course, Ashlands is no longer connected to land, and therefore our Ashlands journey will begin by boat. As you will quickly learn, the boats we are used to simply won't do, as I found out my long ship, as our old friend Hugin was ready to tell me, of course. It's worth noting here that no new NPCs were introduced as part of this update, just the same old Hugin and Munin. When entering the waters of the Ashlands, your boat will quickly begin taking damage and soon be destroyed. To make this journey safely, we will need a new boat in the Dverger. To craft a new boat, we must first craft a new artisan table upgrade with the Majestic Carapace. Once done, we will unlock the recipe for the ceramic plate as the last needed ingredient for the ship, craft the Dverger, and be on our way. Of course, this journey will not be an easy one, as the Ashlands seas are protected by a new serpent in the Bonemaw. Defeating the Bonemaw is not unlike the regular serpent, but this one is much more powerful. Once defeated, it will drop its scale, meat, and its tooth. Like the other serpent, its scale will sink if not near shore. Alternatively, you can flee from the serpent, but be wary of the jutting rocks on our treacherous journey to the Ashlands biome. As you land on shore, you will first be met with an ashen wasteland of ruined structures, charred, burned trees, and ash falling from the sky. As you work your way inland, things will heat up with lava flows and even more dangerous creatures. Speaking of creatures, there are 10 new hostile creatures in addition to a boss and mini-boss, which we will get into a little later. Your likely first encounter will be a varied attack from the Charred clan. You will first be confronted by the Charred Twitcher. The Twitcher will first try a ranged attack, throwing what appears to be a rock, and then close the distance for some melee damage. These are the weakest of Ashlands creatures, but still pack a punch. Pay special attention if you see their monuments of torment, as they are Twitch spawners. Ensure you destroy these quickly to prevent reinforcements. Second and third are the Warrior and Marksmen, also of the Charred faction. The fourth type of their kind are mostly constrained to the fortresses deep in the biome, as we will get to shortly. The Warrior and Marksman are stronger versions of their Twitcher counterpart, of which the Archer will launch a flurry of arrows at you from a distance, while the Warrior will do its best to close distance for a melee attack. The combination of these creatures all at once can be overwhelming, but once defeated, the undead Charred will drop charred bones and skulls. And just when you think you are safe, you can get attacked from the sky. That's right, Voltures can be found on piles of Asksvin Bones, but when you get too close, they will take flight and attack you from the air. Fortunately, these enemies are a little weaker. Once defeated, they will drop vulture meat, sometimes an egg, chance of feathers as well. After defeating the vulture, make sure to mine their nests covered in bones. Mining the bones will yield you the Asksvin neck, skull, ribcage, and pelvis, which will be used in a piece of furniture we will cover later. However, the real treat here is underneath, where you will find vulture eggs for some fine food that I will detail shortly. Before moving inland, keep your eyes open for small cave entrances characterized by Asksvin Bones at their exteriors. These are Putrid Holes, the Ashlands dungeon, of which valuable resources can be found inside, like molten cores and more. Make sure you search these completely, as they can spawn Vegfissure stones that will help us locate the biome's mini-boss and craft the ultimate Ashlands weapon. The molten cores will be used in an absolute game-changing build piece we will construct later. As you move inland and things heat up, you will come across increasingly challenging creatures like the lava blob. Lava blobs act much like the blobs from the swamp, leaping towards you but with an explosive surprise. When defeated, they will explode, but at least provide you with sulfur and prustite powder. Sulfur can be acquired from defeating blobs, but also found attached to rock structures such as these. Likewise, prustite powder has another source and can be mined from unstable lava rocks. However, like the lava blobs, these will explode on impact. Moving deeper into the ash, you will soon stumble across the Asksvin of whose bones we have been mining. These are very different than the creatures we've fought so far, and will look to charge you and are often found in groups of 2 or 3. Feeding them will yield you Asksvin hide, their bladders, and tail. These are the only tameable creatures added in this update, and when bred, will produce the cute Asksvin calves. Plus, you can craft a saddle and ride these, putting our poor Loxen pals to shame with speed. Before getting to the most dangerous creatures native to the Ashlands, I should cover the other resources that can be found along your journey. Across the Ashlands, there are 3 new pickable crops for the taking. First are the Fiddleheads, often found sheltered by ruins. Second are the Smoke Puffs. These can be found on the floor of the Ashlands or often at the peak of rocks, and can even be encountered on the jutting rocks seen as you sail into the biome. Third are Vineberry Clusters, which are found growing up the sides of existing ruins. These are the only new plantable crop added to Valheim in this update. Other points of interest you will likely encounter are the Dverger Huts. Lucky for us, our Dverger pals have made the journey to the deep south, but of the red beard variety, and like their Mistland counterparts, will start allied to us unless we provoke them with an attack or by destroying their gear. However, it seems as if only the rogue variety made this journey. If you do decide to break their gear, you can find some valuable resources in their crates, like Flametal amongst other things. Speaking of Flametal, this is one of the most important resources for Ashlands progression, but also one of the most difficult to obtain. Flametal veins are only found in the middle of lava fields in large columns. If attempting to travel across this lava without the proper preparation, you will surely perish. Fortunately, there is a solution. Assault bombs can be crafted and will be used to get us access to the Flametal. When throwing at the hot lava, these will solidify, making a temporary platform, enabling us to navigate to the column. Once there, mine away with your black metal pickaxe, but to your surprise, you won't have much time. In fact, these columns are living and function like the Leviathan on the sea, and after a few smacks, they will groan and sink into the lava, leaving forever. Take the Flametal ore to a blast furnace to smelt it into Flametal. At which point, it's worth noting that the Ashlands, unlike the biomes for it, does not introduce any new tools. As a result, the black metal axe and pickaxe will be usable for all mineable resources in the entirety of the biome. The black metal pickaxe can also be used to mine the raw rock and rock structures for Grausten, while the axe can be used to cut down the trees across the biome for Ashwood and charcoal resin. Ashwood and Grausten are the foundational building pieces that have been added in this update, allowing for some outstanding new builds we will surely see in the near future. At this point, it is time for us to tackle the troll of the Ashlands in the Morgen. Morgen are massive and quite quick for their size, with a rolling movement allowing them to mobilize quickly. Apart from that, they will look to either lunge at you or get close for a melee attack. Defeating them will give you both the Morgen Heart and Morgen Sinew. The last creature in the Ashlands overworld before we tackle the formidable fortresses is the Fallen Valkryie. The second flying creature in the biome might be the most terrifying, with both melee as well as ranged magic attacks, dealing both poison and fire damage. These are formidable foes, but once defeated, give you the valuable Celestial Feather. All of these creatures in the Ashlands each appear to have their own trophies, with the exception of the Lava Blobs and Mini-Boss from my testing. With the Ashlands overworld conquered, it's time we prepare for the greatest challenge yet in Fortress time. Fortresses are large stone structures that are impenetrable by the standard means. Fortunately, Irongate have not left us high and dry in this regard. To break through their tough defense, you and your server mates can build both the battering ram and catapult. Both of these structures, once built, can be pulled using the same mechanics as with a cart. To break through the fortress gate, hold the battering ram into place, fill it with fuel, and ram your way through their defenses. Alternatively, lay siege to the fortress with the catapult. Unfortunately, you likely won't have access to the catapult for your first fortress, as it requires the Charred Cogs wheel, only obtainable from destroying the Scug turrets within. Like the battering ram, you can man this device like a cart and drag it into place. Once ready, lay down its legs for stability and load it with ammunition. Something as simple like a stone can be used, but there are also new recipes in the Grausten and explosive payloads that can be crafted and placed into the catapult for mega damage. While attacking, be careful of the enemy Scug turrets, as they will surely take a shot at you. Once inside, you will have one hell of a fight. These fortresses are inhabited by the Charred Warriors and Marksmen, and the fourth member of the Charred Gang and the Charred Warlock. The Warlocks are absolute menaces, summoning constant Twitchers, making the fight even more congested. Clear the Charred inside and focus on destroying the effigies of malice in the corners, as these will continuously spawn more Charred for you to deal with. While this is a difficult fight, it will most definitely be worth it, as inside there will be chests containing valuable resources like Flametal, Molten Cores, Celestial Feathers, Charred Bones, and potential for any of 3 types of gemstones in the Bloodstone, Jade, or Iolite. These gemstones will allow us to take our weaponry to the next level, for which I will show you in the weapons section of this video. Oh, and lastly, inside the dungeon, there will be one more door that must be destroyed with the battering ram to get the resource we will need to summon the Ashlands Boss in Bell Fragments. But before getting to the boss, I think it's time we cover many of the new craftable materials as well as foods, weapons, and armor, all made possible by the resources we have been gathering. To craft these items, we first need to build the corresponding crafting station upgrades. First, the Black Forge can be upgraded by crafting the metal and gem cutters, bringing the device to a level of 6. Second, the Galder table can be brought up a level by crafting the Feathery Reef. It's worth noting that upgrading these tables will now enable your Mistlance weapon and armor to reach a quality level of 4, should you desire. And thirdly, the Cauldron can also be upgraded with the rolling pins and cutting boards. With these upgrades, we can now craft the Ashlands weapons, armor, and augment our stats with the best foods in the game. The Ashlands introduces to us a total of 21 new melee weapons, 4 bows, 4 crossbows, 4 new staffs, 2 bombs in the Basalt and Smoke, as well as 2 new shields. However, to make many of these weapons, a new mechanic was introduced with gemstones, as we touched on earlier in the fortresses. In short, many of the weapons will require a base weapon to be crafted, at which point you can augment that weapon by embedding one of the 3 gemstones listed earlier to transform the weapon. The Bloodstone adds the attribute to your weapon that increases your damage the more health you are missing. The Jade Stone adds the root ability to the weapon, which provides a chance to completely immobilize an enemy you have hit. And the Iolite Stone adds lightning damage to your weapon. I will quickly review all of the new weapons, starting with melee. First, the Greatsword Slayer being transformed into the Brutal, Scouring, and Primer alternates. The one-handed sword Mead Hog augmented to the Bleeding, Thundering, and Primal versions. The Flametal Mace converted to the Bludgeon, Stormstar, and Clawson. The new two-handed Berserker axes with alternates in the Bleeding, Thundering, and Primal. The new spear in the Splitnir in its augmented version in the Bleeding, Storming, and Primal. And the last melee weapon is the very special Dyrnwyn. The Dyrnwyn has very special item requirements to craft in the Dyrnwyn hilt, blade, and tip fragments, which we will need to hunt the mini-boss to discover, so stay tuned for more on that. As for bows, we have the Ash Fang, which can be altered into the Blood, Storm, and Root Fang, and a crossbow in the Ripper, which can be converted to the Wound, Storm, and Root Ripper. To augment the bows and crossbows, new arrows and bolts have been added in the Charred arrows and bolts, respectively. Furthermore, another projectile and Flametal missiles have also been added as new ammunition for ballistas. For the magic casters out there, we have 4 unique staffs that have been added in the following: the Troll Staff, which summons flaming trolls using blood magic to combat our foes, and 3 elemental magic staff, starting with the Staff of the Wild, summoning stationary roots to distract our enemies, the Dunder, which is effectively a magic shotgun, and the Staff of Fracturing, functioning almost as a grenade launcher, firing loose explosives on the ground. As for shields, 2 have been added in the Flametal Round and Tower Shields. I will break down full details of all these weapons in a future video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and don't miss a thing. As for armor, we now have 3 new sets to choose from, as well as 2 brand new capes. First is the Flametal armor, which can easily serve as the heavy armor for the biome, best for those tanky playstyle players and providing heat resistance. Second is the Ask armor, which is the rangy, mobility-based armor for the biome, not delivering movement speed reduction. And thirdly, the Embla armor for the Itercast players out there, providing Iter regeneration like the Iter we've set for it. As for capes, the first is the Ashen Cape, which surely will be popular for its sick look and stamina usage reducing properties. And second, and one of the more unique items ever added to the game, in the Asksvin Cloak, which allows you to run faster with the wind at your back, plus reduces the stamina usage while dodging. The Ashlands introduces 15 new foods, as well as 2 new meads in the Lingering Healing and Lingering Iter meads. These foods will require the upgraded Cauldron covered earlier, and I have included a full table of those foods and their stats on screen should you need it. With top tier weapons, armor, and food ready, it's time to find and defeat the Biome's boss. First, his Vegfasir runestone can be found at the top of ruins. In my experience so far, it appears to spawn more often in the larger ruins. Navigate to their peaks and place his location location on your map. Once done, you will need to have crafted 3 bells to summon him. You will have acquired the bell fragments from the fortresses you have cleared. Once crafted, head to the spawn and place each of the 3 bells on one of the 3 thrones in the arena. With that done, interact with the altar at the middle. Wait as the classic heavy metal music starts. Vader is a dragon-like creature who likes a good spinning melee and stomping attack, but isn't afraid to summon fireballs from the sky dealing fire damage. Once defeated, he drops his trophy as well as the Vader relic. Like the bosses before him, this boss drop won't have any function now and will have to be held until the Deep North update, where its purpose will be served. Return Vader's trophy to his sacrificial stone. This power gives you extra strength and speed with plus 300 carrying weight and plus 10% movement speed. Of course, for the builders and decorators out there, we have a ton of new furniture and buildable pieces for us. While I won't go through all of the build pieces, I will showcase a quick Ashwood and Grausten house I did make. I can't wait to see the creations Valheim builders will soon be making. As for furniture, we have quite a few new pieces. The Ashwood bed, bone throne, lava lantern, Asksvin rug, small, medium, and large green pots, the Ashwood bench, Asksvin skeleton, and finally straw. Not included in here, but also available for building are the Ashwood stake walls and 4 stackable items in the Ashwood, Grausten, skull, and bone stacks. I will certainly investigate the comfort enhancing properties of this furniture in a future video. It is also worth noting briefly that there are now 2 new raid types to worry about. First, the Undead Army Marches, composed of Charred Marksmen, Warriors, and Twitchers, and second, the Dead Have Been Summoned raid, which appears to be exclusively Twitchers. Before covering the elusive mini-boss and finding the ingredients for the powerful Dyrnwyn sword, there are powerful build items I have not yet covered. First is the gorgeous stone portal. Unlike existing portals, this permits the transport of even restricted items. No more long boat trips if you have the material for 2 stone portals. Second is the shield generator. As you might notice, there are constant meteors falling from the sky in the Ashlands, catching everything on fire. Should you want to build a base in this biome, the shield generator is a must build. When placed and filled with bones, both charred and bone fragments will do, a barrier is produced. This barrier blocks all projectiles from entering, like meteors from the sky as well as arrows from archers. This will be an absolute must build for any base going forward. Lord Reto is the Ashlands mini boss and carries one of the 3 Dyrnwyn fragments required to craft the Dyrnwyn sword. To find his location, you will need to search Putrid Holes for a special Vegfasir that will place a mysterious location on your map. You will need to find a total of 3 of these mysterious locations. Once all 3 are found, travel to them and defeat the creatures present. Expect a tough fight with 2-star versions of the Charred. 2 of these locations will be rock structures containing an altar with a Dyrnwyn component on it, while the third will consist of a dungeon where Lord Reto will be found. Defeat him for the 3rd Dyrnwyn fragment, enabling you to craft this powerful sword. And that is everything new in the Ashlands. I am fired up to produce more Ashlands content, covering everything in further detail in future videos, so don't forget the name Spazzy Games. And if you just need more Valheim right now, check out my full overview of every biome, meadows to mistlands on screen now.